All right, guys, you see I've got this all sketched out. I didn't draw every tiny spot on this, as you can see, but I kind of know where I did sketch out the darks and the lights and all the folds and stuff so that I have a good roadmap on how to paint this. So you got to start with your lightest colors first. So my lightest color is that really lighter yellow color that's in there. So I'm just going to take some of my straight up yellow, get that going. Got to liven back up, it's very dry. All right, I'm going to take a little of the yellowy orange because it's not, oops, that's probably too much. Get that out of there. Here, I'll mix that in, dilute that a little bit. That actually looks pretty good. You can always test it on a piece of scrap paper. It's always a good idea. Give yourself a little scrap paper and just say, does that look like the right color? And that looks pretty good. I'm gonna add a little bit more water to it just to go easy. I could always make it darker. So I'm just gonna paint in all of the yellowy areas. And honestly, because the yellow is gonna be the lightest color, I probably can go and hit all of the orange areas too, honestly, because the orange has yellow in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do both right now, so it goes a little quicker. I feel like that's a little too light. There we go, that's better. So I'm hitting right now, I'm hitting all the light orange and yellow areas. And if I hit the greens a little bit with the side of my brush, it's okay because you're gonna go over those later with the dark green. So I've got a yellowy orange stripe going in here. The nice thing about green and darker oranges, they all will cover this light yellow. So I'm not being super careful with this at the moment. I'm gonna get more and more careful as I get down to like the darker colors, obviously. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in there. All right, guys, I've got my first layer of color in there. So I've just hit everywhere where there's gonna be the lighter orange and the darker orange both. All right, while that's drying a little bit, I'm gonna start mixing my darker, more macaroni and cheese color here. On my set, right, I've got all the primary and secondary colors here, and the tertiaries are over here in this Crayola set. So I'm just using mostly this tertiary color and see if that might be it, almost straight out the thing. That's not too bad. I could probably orange it up a little bit more. Throw a little orange in there. Okay. So I'm gonna make sure that's sort of dry enough right now. I think it's dry enough. Some of it is. I can probably start here where it's the driest. Just watch it. You don't want to like get it to be all like smudgy and blurry and stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and start layering in this darker orange where I see it. So I'm gonna cover up most of the yellow in here because it is like darker. So that yellow just acts as a base coat to the darker orange you're putting on now. Okay, and that's pretty much it for my darker red orange color. Up next, I'm gonna start mixing. You know what I'm gonna do before I mix the dark greens? In the gourd itself, I know it's just orange, but there's gonna be little shadows and stuff in there that I haven't really got in yet. So I'm just gonna make a slightly darker version of this with a little bit of the brown mixed in, maybe a touch of the black or something, just a little bit. So I make like sort of a shadowy version of this. Doesn't look too bad. And the way that the light is hitting this right now, I'm gonna go ahead and put those in, those little bit of shadows and stuff. Like this part is a little bit more in the shadow because the light's coming from above. So I'm just gonna darken that up in some places just to help like the 3D quality of this. That's why I put that line there, it was like because there's a little bit more of a shadow. This one is actually pretty shady down here. I'm just gonna blend it in. It's okay that it's still wet because I kind of want it to not be a hard edge. If it dried, it's fine too. It'll just be a little bit more graphic looking, but I'm gonna darken this one right here because it's in the shadow for me at the moment. All right, and see how that just helps with the three-dimensional quality of the gourd and how it folds in on itself. Okay, time to mix the greens. They're mostly one value of green on here on this gourd. There's like a lighter one. I'll start with that first. Sort of a grassy green color. I'm honestly just gonna mix that right into the colors I've got. All right, and then we're gonna just start to go over the top of that. We'll get the light areas in first. Let that kind of fade down in. For the spots, I'm just gonna start laying those in as well while I've got that green. Some of them are more faded than others. Some of them are spots, some of them are like little half circle things. And I'll go and put some darker ones in later. All right, I have the light green in there. I started to put it down in the shadow by accident. That's fine, I'll fix that later. I'm gonna go ahead and mix my darker greens now. So I'm gonna still use that yellowy green that's over on my tertiary side, and I'm gonna add black to it, I think. I'll probably have to do more than one coat for this. Doesn't look too bad. Definitely gonna have to do more than one coat for this. See how light it's going on the first time? So I'm gonna start painting in those darker areas. All right, so I've put some of the darker greens in. I'm just going over now. I'm gonna start layering these in. All right, I'm at the point where I need to like look at it and say, all right, where does it still need to be darker? I'm gonna throw in some more black, some more green, and decide where it's gotta still go darker. Yet this whole side, it looks like. There's a couple places where I've got to touch up the yellowy orange where it just wasn't quite dark enough. Like back in here where I kind of left some little spots and stuff, just to leave them and stuff. Back here in the like dark area, there's a little bit of this orangey color. We're just gonna marry that together a little bit. We're getting there. As far as the stem colors and stuff, it's kind of the same greens. I'm just gonna make sort of like a light tan color just to fill in this little boopity boop at the end. Tip of this is like a light green, probably lighter than that, so let's water that down just a little bit. There's some light green flecks in there. I'm just gonna hit that and I'll come back to it. Okay, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm gonna hit the, I'm gonna switch to a slightly bigger brush, and I'm gonna wet this whole area where I want the shadow to go. And my shadow, you know, I'll just probably throw in a little bit of purple, a little bit of gray, something like that. So I'm just hitting it with regular water first. I'm gonna get a little bit of black in there. I like to throw in a little bit of blue or purple sometimes, just to liven up the black. And then I'm just gonna hit that. And it's gonna do its own thing, and I can always go back and fine tune it and adjust it later. I just wanna connect it to the thing. It's hopefully not wet. It doesn't look like it's wet, it's fine. And I'm gonna darken the part that's closest to the gourd here. I'm just gonna go in, darken this area, and just kind of force it to do a little tie-dye action here. Get rid of that green that I messed up before. It's not too bad. I'm splattering on my paper, but I'm gonna go back and get the stem now. So it's gonna be it's pretty similar to the colors as the rest of the gourd. So you can darken it pretty dark here. Just gonna use the tip of my brush. This is just the number 4 round. I'm gonna leave little bits of the lighter green showing, just because there's little spots on it. It's kind of like little texture or stripy texture. And that's gonna be about it. I mean, I could go back in and just fine tune this a little bit here and there, but this is the gist of it. This is most of it. You could always go back in with a little brush and like tidy up some of the shadows or spots or anything, but it's pretty close. Just gonna try to darken up some of those folds that are on the end part, the like warty, foldy part of the back of this gourd. Just gonna darken it up a little bit more in some of those spots, just kind of figuring out where the shadows should be. This is pretty dark right in here. I can darken that up. And call it good enough. Then of course, always take a relatively small brush. I don't have one right at the moment, and sign it with just a little bit of paint and a color that's in your gourd. Don't sign it in black. There's not really any straight black here. So dark greens, just use a color that's already mixed. Like, don't do a different color for that. Okay, and that's it.